Welcome. Welcome to one of my favorite places on earth and times and everything on earth. So what we do when we start off our mess sessions are A through F. So we figure out how's everyone feeling in the room. So I'll start. Um, so hmm, Today was this week was a bit of a brutal one, in a sense of having to show up in spaces where I didn't feel prepared. I was like completely caught off guard, and it just felt everything felt important, like we talked about earlier. So I think because of that, I would say I'm a B plus. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited for it to be Friday as well too, because I really cherish the time off, whatever that means. So I'm looking forward to it. But yes, how are you doing, Stina? A through F.
I really like that B range too. I mean, I think that what is been, like I said, this is like my high season, right? It's just everything. And I think when that happens, trusting in, hey, I've got that in the back of my subconscious, got that training. I've really leaned in on that, not necessarily going through all the preparation for everything that I typically like, that makes me feel comfortable and prepared, and I'm an over preparer. And when I've done that, what's interesting is that I've actually performed like amazing. It's just recognizing that it's in you. Like you do that. I think we don't recognize that enough within us, that when we do what we love and we do what's in our wheelhouse and we continue in that, it's there. We don't need to always over prepare.
Right. And 2 seconds. Okay. So the reason I say that is because a lot of times we feel like there's some components or things that we're missing. And I think as females in general, we're like over prepared. We always have to do that because we have to prove that we're supposed to be there, the whole thing.
Yeah.
But trusting ourselves and what we've already been able to accomplish in life and what we've already been able to, obtain,
Mhm.
that is a part that I think that we lose out on. And when we show up, because sometimes I'll do this thing where I'm like just blindly like just send the email or just do it, because you have to trust that you've done enough to be here. And then whatever it is you're putting forward or you're trying to grasp it's interconnected. Like it's supposed to be for you. And if it's not, you learn from it, you keep going
Yeah.
because you're resilient.
Yeah.
Literally. I love that. Okay, just really quickly, Janae. So we do A through F. So we just did our A through F. I'm a B plus. Cena's a B or B plus.
I'm gonna flow between I think it's more like a B. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, Lori, how are you? A through F.
I think I'm a B plus
Oh, okay.
because I had a productive day, but it was really busy. And my son, he's home because it's spring break, and I'm getting ready to travel out of town to see my mom. And I didn't get the house done like I really need to because I'm still unpacking since last semester. So that's why that B plus. But you know what? I'm hopeful. I'm not letting this define me. I'm keeping it in its place. The
Hmm.
things that I have still yet to do, like, where I'm not feeling overwhelmed, like, oh, shucks, no, I'll get to it. But, I just keep moving and I'm doing the things that I really love first. So,
Mm.
I've changed my routine, my daily routine. I told you I'm a musician, by the way, Stina, and that's what I do every morning, and it's been a great feeling.
Mhm.
Grounding yourself. I love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Okay. Janae, A through F, how are you doing? Welcome.
Hi, ladies. I
Hi.
love that we're calling it A through F. I've been in like higher education, so we've done everything from like roses and thorns and highs and lows, and it's so cheesy. I love this adult version. Um, A through F. Um, I feel like I'm an A minus.
Okay.
Um, Today was much busier for me than I feel like Friday is supposed to be. But one of the things that took up a lot of my day was I was telling Sam yesterday, my allergies have been kicking my behind. So the fact that I went to the doctor and I was like, girl, you take as long as you need to take, but I need to leave here healed or with some medication that's going to do it. So I have officially got my meds so I can breathe. And I think I would just have more genuine energy if my allergies wasn't the way they are. I've been really putting on today and all week, like, hey, but really, I'm like, hey. So I think it's just breathing's hard right now. But I'm good though. Like it feels like Tuesday or Wednesday. It doesn't really feel like Friday.
Hmm.
Because it's been so busy. Like when did Friday start doing this? Like it's Friday. Um,
Listen.
I feel like Friday's having an identity crisis, but nevertheless, we're here. And I'm good. But thank you, ladies, for welcoming me.
Absolutely. Paige, how we doing? A through F.
Hi everyone. I'm what I'm calling a grateful C. I'm a C, but I'm grateful. So I just started a new job. Grateful because I was applying for a long time. But it's just like getting my footing and getting a feel for everything in the job. Like it's a lot to learn at once. The job seems fairly easy, but just it's the normal just getting used to your new job kind of thing. Um, Having some neck pain, but overall I'm grateful. And I was talking to Sam earlier today. Since my job's remote, I'm trying to decide like my next moves in my life, which is a very exciting place to be. But I think the reason I'm a C is because I'm in a place of like, well, I'm not yet like enjoying it yet, but I will. So I feel like I'm kind of in a hurry to like get out and enjoy life. Like I have this great big wall calendar that shows all of the dates for every day of the year in one page. So I'm trying to like fill this calendar with either, fun or valuable or meaningful experiences. So I'm kind of having this, it feels like resistance, but it's not. I don't There's probably a specific German word for it because they have all the specific words. But it's this feeling of, kind of the world is out in front of me with some limitations, but I'm just like really eager to like get started already. And I feel like, oh, it's already March, 2025 is almost over. And I'm just having this like, it's almost like fear of missing out, but not quite. So having this little bit of, just ready to get going and ready to put things on my calendar, but trying to figure it out along the way too. So a grateful C, it's the C is for reasons that I have that I should be grateful for. And it's still, a challenging to kind of transition into the next phase.
Thank you, ma'am. Hi, Your Highness. Good to see you. How are we doing? A through F.
Oof. I'm honestly at like a C minus. My dog passed away this week.
Oh, sorry to hear that. That's rough. I know, I can tell.
It's just been such a roller coaster. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel fine. The next I'm like this. And just trying to keep up with all the things that I have to do. But
Mm-hmm. Remember, you first, though. You first, always. If you
yeah,
can't show up, we get
mhm.
it.
I
Thank you
took
for
off
being
work
here.
for the whole rest of the week just because I didn't want to like put too much emotional strain on myself because I deal
Yeah,
with people
that's the right thing.
so
Absolutely.
bothersome.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
I'm happy to be here with you guys.
Thank you. We miss you so much. Yes. Well, thank you. How you doing, Kayla? I've been throwing people at Kayla all week.
Avocado and trying to yeah, I think I would say I feel like an A right now despite the uncertainty. Like I feel good, but as Sam knows, and if you were in the last meeting, like I just got married. I'm like renegotiating what my career is right now. I'm recently an attorney, but I'm like still kind of deciding like what I want to do. So I've just been like doing a lot of kind of informational or networking meetings that I can get. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now, kind of seeing if I want to go back full time or if I want to, like piece together a few different things of things that I'm interested in, like maybe do something in law. I studied events in undergrad, like maybe do something in events or something more creative or something in fitness too. I'm kind of like figuring out like what my options are right now.
Yeah. I love that you're open, though. I love that you're open. The
Yeah,
universe is listening. It
yeah,
is listening.
I think so.
Okay, good. Well, I'm so grateful you guys are spending your time because, as we know, time is the most precious, valuable thing that we have on this earth. So I deeply appreciate it. And I hope that you know to everyone, this is a safe space and that we are so excited to have you here. I'm really excited to bring on Stina because we met through a mutual friend. And we've been checking in with each other periodically, and we've been more than anything else through the screen connecting immediately. Of like, Stina was the first person. So I think I told this to you ladies, but I'll repeat it. I had a call with her, and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And she's like, "I was like, I'm good." And I'm like, "How are you?" She's like, "I'm good." And she's like, "No, that's a mask. I am going through it." And I was like, "Thank you. Thank you so much for giving that space of just realism to enter the room." And then we diverted the whole conversation to our lives and everything that we're processing and going through. So we didn't really like make it about work or like, those sort of trajectories. But we did circle back and we did get a chance to do that in another follow-up. So that's okay. We got through it. But we needed that space, like to hold that space to say, hey, I have to fight my day. Because it was like a 9 a.m. Like, I have to fight my day. How do I make this work? How do I figure this all out? Catalina, I'm going to throw you in here really quickly. What's your A through F? You know I can't miss you.
Ah, A through F. Think I'm at a B.
Okay.
Yeah, there's things I feel good about, but I'm also really tired. And there's some things where I feel like my mom and I were talking about this earlier this week, that even if you are passionate about something and you're good at whatever it is that you're doing, if you know that you're underpaid in doing that thing, then there's a moment where it becomes like fatiguing to think about continuing to do that. And there's one of my hats that I'm wearing where I currently feel that way. So this week I'm just thinking about those things and
Processing. Okay.
processing.
Okay.
See.
Okay. Well, we're gonna drop some words of encouragement for you because we seem to all have a little bit of musk from things that we're trying to navigate through this week. And I'm glad we're here together to recognize that. I was just introducing Stina to the group to take the lead on everything. But thank you for sharing that. We got some bees. Your Highness is dealing with a doggy death this week. So I'm glad she's here, and we're gonna hold space for her. But I just want to say thank you, Stina, again for coming and jumping in with us this week. And I know it was like kind of last minute, but I really appreciate it. Definitely appreciate you being here. And so I'm going to leave the floor to you. So I'm going to give them the premise of the conversation. So we did talk about neurodivergent founders, and I know that is taboo, allegedly, in the world outside of here. But when talking to you,
Wait to hear what I have to say.
right. So when I was talking to her, I was like, listen, I have some founders who are, we're trying to figure out ways that we can support them and communicate and work with them. And then also you guys impact worlds like Lori. That's our whole business model outside of being a musician, where you're dealing with neurodivergent children and their parents and who may be neurodivergent too. So, it was something that it kind of felt along the lines of a lot of different things that we were interacting with. And obviously it's unfortunately the world that we're currently in. And so I wanted to create space for that. So I'm really appreciative of you being able to make the time to come and hang out with us today. So I would love for you to take the lead, and feel free, this is an open space. Maria, when you get a chance, give us your A through F through chat. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you referenced our first connect, because one of the things that I have found as a fellow founder and entrepreneur is that community and relationship base is number one. And I think that's kind of what came out that day. And it's a lot of what I'm gonna take you through a piece of one of the talks and trainings that I often do with founders, because it is about building out your system and your network and your community and recognizing where it is that you need supports. And your neurodivergence, which is really interesting, is that we have a whole spectrum when we have the neuro terms. Everybody has some form of something on the spectrum of neurodiversity. Is like this overarching umbrella that's just the term of like there's cognitive differences between us all. And so when someone identifies, like I do identify as neurodivergent. And so those that do, you might have a diagnosis of like ADHD, autism, anxiety, social anxiety, learning disability, things like that. But what's really interesting about the entrepreneurial world is there are studies showing that the brains of entrepreneurs have different pathways and connections. That's neurodivergence. And so knowing your brain, your greatest asset, is essential for your success. But we don't put that through like business training, right? We don't really talk about it when we're working with founders or when we're learning how do you start a business. And I don't know. For me, I became a business owner just because I started doing what I wanted to do, and it just grew and grew and grew. And then I had to figure it out and be intentional. So let's see, I don't know how formally you all do it, but I want to show you some visuals because I'm super visual. And so I just pulled up like a slide deck from one of the talks. And I'm going to give you also some tools that you can use. And if you all want to get together later, we can do that too. Has anybody heard of executive functioning skills before? Can you just like hit the emoji thing or show me? Yeah. Okay, good. Because that's kind of what we're going to end up going through. Like, what is executive functioning skills? Why are they important? What is that? Like, why is that relevant to me in the success of my business? And before we get into that, I kind of want to tell you a story. So, and I'm a fisherwoman. I'm actually a pretty badass fisherwoman. And I went to Vancouver about a year and a half to maybe 2 years ago, and I was fishing for the juvenile salmon, and so they're fattening up. And that's why you want to get them. And then, but they fight a lot and they tend to swim deeper. And so I was out on this boat, and I was like determined. And it was this beautiful day, and there was humpback whales and this and that. But you know what? I got super frustrated because it was like 6 hours and nothing was happening. Doesn't this sound like our journey as entrepreneurs? And I knew, you know what, Stina, like you're trained for this. You've done this your whole life. Be attentive, be strategic. Where do we need to be? And it manifested. It's going to happen. Well, I relearned a really important lesson that day. I relearned that I needed to build out my team, so the people around me, because there was going to be a moment where I was going to need it, and I wasn't going to be able to do it all myself, type of a thing. Not because I needed someone to come in, but because of what goes on up here. How many of us have those intrusive thoughts that all of a sudden, I shouldn't do this? I'm not good enough. I don't know how. I'm not a businesswoman, right? So I finally got a fish on the hook. Well, now it's 200 feet down. I got to reel it up. And I don't know if any of you have ever done that, but I didn't have a harness. That pole, I had bruises all over my belly, and all my limbs were burning. I was reeling for like 30 minutes, maybe more. I thought they were going to fall off. And right in the middle of it, I felt I had this. I go, you know what? I'm not managing this up here. I've got adrenaline. I'm stressing. I'm like, I can't do this. And then all of a sudden, one of my friends that was on there goes, you told me this would happen. You said you would do it, and you're going to do it. There's that tough, like right there. There was no, Stina, it's going to be okay. It's okay. Do you want to pass it off? No, you said you were going to do it. Now do it. And so what I learned was it was important to train the people around me to delegate that support, because even if you're the leader of your company, even if you're the leader of others, even if you're a mom, you still need help in those moments when you're in complete exhaustion, you're in disbelief, you like start getting those thoughts of I can't do it. Then you can dig deep like I did into my gut, into my core, and really pull that strength out, because I paid attention to that and what I would need in that moment to really tap into my true abilities. That fish came up. And I wish I had I'll have to send it out in an email or something. I'm not kidding. It was huge. It was beautiful. But the only thing that came out of my mouth in that moment after it came up was, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. Like, I actually did it. And I was grateful that I had been proactive in setting those up. So when we're doing that, setting up our supports, we have to know how. So executive functioning skills, there's like 11 of them I like to focus on. A lot of it's time management, task management, communication, stress management, the regulation of your nervous system, so that your frontal lobe stays active enough that you can make decisions. And so a lot of times I take people through this exercise, and like, we're not in an actual room, but you can imagine yourself walking and showing in your body. Today, when I show up, am I only here for the coffee? Because some mornings that's what it is, right? Or am I here because I am on fire and I can just boom, boom, boom through everything I need to do? And so I think that's a really good check every time you step into this. And you can almost feel it in your body. You feel it in your nervous system of where you're at, right? And as you know, as entrepreneurs, these are some words that when we talk about entrepreneurs come out, right? We're passionate, we're disciplined, we're resilient. One of my favorites is that we're disruptive. We disrupt things, we remake things, we kind of mosaic, because we're creating something new, right? We have ideas. And the coolest thing about that is that our neurological makeup as entrepreneurs, we actually have more cognitive flexibility in exploring choices. The study actually that when I first read it was at University of Liège, I think is how you pronounce it. And what they found is that there's higher connectivity between the right insula and the anterior prefrontal lobe cortex. And so that's neurodivergence. And that's what's essential to establish and maintain when you're not a business owner. That's how if you tap into that and you manage that, you can be successful, right? In theory. The other piece of it is if you know that about yourself, you can learn that about those that you work with. What we know is that companies that bring in neurodiversity and neurodiversity awareness, these are actual numbers, like within the last year to 2 years, is that employees' productivity go up by 48%. That's money. Employee engagement, that's money. Reducing your turnover, the people you have to train. Oh my goodness, do I know about retraining? I just actually, before getting on this call, one of the things my go-to said, you know what, I got to reduce my hours. So now what do I have to do? I have to retrain. That is like the founder's worst words to hear. But if you are able to incorporate this, it really impacts your bottom line. We also know that when we're entrepreneurs, we can't fake it. Well, not if I don't do it, it doesn't happen. And if I fake it, like when I was talking with Sam, if I mask too long, that takes that energy that could be going into the actual work away. So what we want to do is we want to understand what is our highest capacity, using our greatest asset of our brain, and having that high functionality, effectiveness, efficient, and really optimizing our productivity. And then if you do that, you can also share that with your team and train your team so that they're doing the same thing. They're tapping in their superpowers, that you're addressing those deficits and struggles and your neurological needs. So awareness is the #1 predictor of success for leaders, but most of us think that we are aware and we're not. How many of us think that we're aware? Today, I'm not very, today I'm a little bit less aware. I'm just putting it, right? So one of the things you want to do, we all have at least one area that we need support in. And we also need to know what tools and strategies. And it sounds like Paige, you were talking about that calendar. I'm assuming that scheduling and knowing your deadlines is a strategy for you. Is that right?
It can be, you know, naturally, I'm not like the type of person who likes to be that planned, but the planning process is helpful for me to get the results that I want. And
Mhm.
as far as the big calendar goes, it does two things. It gives me something to look forward to, and it's also a reminder of, oh, I did fill the year with, you know, valuable experiences.
Yeah. And then part of that planning too is like giving our brain likes predictability. Like one strategy that's really good to use if you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, that happens all the time, you know, when you're working on and creating something that you're so passionate about, is rewatch a show or a movie that you know every single line, because that helps us really bring down anxiety. We can predict it when there's a lot of unpredictability around us, and that's extremely stressful. The brain doesn't like it. But if we can give it an outlet to kind of soothe like that, it gives it, you know, a little reset. So I'm going to give you, how many of you are parents as well? Okay. So those of you that are, I'm going to actually give you a link to download. I have assessments for adults. I also work with young adults and guardians together, because a lot of what our neurological makeup is, it's linked within our families as well. And so if you are a parent, it's helpful to know that about your youth or young adult. So the 11 areas that I tend to address are these. So self-understanding, that's the awareness, organizational skills, time management, motion management, behavior management, flexibility, initiative, attention, working memory. So working memory is like when you follow a recipe, can you hold the knowledge, the information long enough to apply it? It's not necessarily like short or long, that's different. Persistence, and then metacognition. So thinking about your thinking. How is my thinking going? How am I managing my thinking? Is it efficient? And then I also want to just note, a lot of times folks they'll say like emotion control, behavior control. I don't like to use that. We don't control our emotions. Our emotions happen, and they're neither good nor bad. They're signals for something to change or for something to stay the same. So I like to use the word management with that. So I'm going to give you a checklist that you can do. And the best thing is to really be honest, not answer the way you think that you should answer the way that you actually experience. And then think about how you can engage members around you in your support system to address those that are coming up as a highest need. So do you all have a phone? Otherwise, I'm going to actually throw this link in the chat to this page so that you can download this. Where's the chat? There we go. And then if you can just give me a thumbs up when you have it. Because I should also let you all know, my background's education, so I'm all about I do it, we do it, then you do it. And it should have like all three of them in there. So take all three if it's applicable to you. Thank you. And if any of you did not get it, I can share this. Sam can share it out in email, or I can share it too. I think I have. So there's 11 sections. They're not all labeled until you go back and score them. But just a quick overview so attention management is basically your ability to focus your attention. There's 3 different levels of attention. You have sustained, that's like one task. You have alternating, so that's when you're working on a main task. You have to shift to something for a brief amount of time and then come back, like be able to come back to the main task. So think about when you're working on something and somebody comes in and says like, hey, Stina, I had a quick question. Pause, address, come back. That's the alternating attention. And then divided attention is what most of us call multitasking. I have very little faith in multitasking. We can only do multitasking for a short amount of time, right? And really not to the highest quality, right?
Are you calling me out? Is that what you're trying to do? You're targeting
We
me.
all, I mean, like, no way. I actually had this in a meeting today where I had to say, wait, I'm sorry. I was working on this email. I did not get that at all. I need to monotask. And so, and that's something that we have to do in our work, in our family lives, in our relationships all the time, right? And I think what's really interesting is that a lot of us have heard the installation or the messaging that multitasking is cool and amazing, and neurologically in the nervous system and also productivity wise, it's like, no, it's really unrealistic and it doesn't get the best quality out. I like to focus on actually do trainings on this to create the pathways is the sustained attention and the alternating attention. So that when you're pulled off, you come back to what you had intended to be working on and completing. So I always put in little like tools and tips whenever I talk about these. And so, noise canceling earplugs, I love the loops. I love, I have like 3 different types of headphones. Anything that you can do to help yourself focus in and eliminate outside stimuli while you're working on something is really important, no matter how dorky it makes you look. Behavior management, right?
I just want to add, so, of course, Tina is completely right. And I've learned this over time that multitasking seems like such a benefit to employers or like life skills. Like you're like, oh, I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm doing all the things. But I think now in like mainstream media, we joke about it, the ADHD of like, ooh, gotta do this, ooh, gotta do that, ooh, forgot that. And then you realize you come back to your first task and you're like, I didn't even do it. But this idea of just sitting, focusing, completing one, getting to the next, you actually are more effective over time. But just hearing like these new tools, if you will, to help us be more focused because so many things are coming at us and distracting us. We have such a short amount of like attention span that we used to have because we have so much stimuli always around us in so many different ways. So like, the ladies know I'm very big on resetting and pausing and like like I'll go on social media breaks, like anything that's like we talk about this a lot of like, feeding your focus, starving your distractions, that
Yeah.
sort of concept. But it's again a learned thing because it was so accepted and even like glorified if you could do all the things.
Yeah. Yeah. Flesh that out. We're gonna leave that. And then it also feeds into like that goes right into behavior management. And I also, as you were talking, Sam, I was thinking, we when we don't acknowledge that, we also lose a lot. And I wish I could tell you all that it like goes away as a founder, like after you start your business and you get going and 5 years, 10 years. No, like the tasks keep coming. And so really learning how to manage your attention and prioritize and really identify what feeds and what moves the needle forward and what doesn't is probably the number 1 skill that you need.
Quick question that Paige has. Do you have to do, can you put one answer or can you put multiple?
Oh, so you check as many as apply to you.
Got it.
So the way it's scored is that the areas with the most checks are the areas that impact you the most on like a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And it's not good or bad. Like everybody has different areas that flare up and you just want to be aware of them and then know what tools and strategies and supports you're going to put in place so you can be successful. That's just an awareness piece.
Okay.
So for behavior management, like that's impulse control, watching, playing things forward, monitoring progress. So whenever we make a goal and we take steps towards it, we need to monitor because sometimes we make decisions in business that cost money. And if you don't monitor them, then you go, oops, I just lost, hundreds, thousands of dollars because I wasn't monitoring that was actually progressing. That was actually moving my needle forward because I didn't collect data and pay attention to it. So that's part of our behavior management. What am I doing every day that feeds in? Am I starting my day by doing my passion and playing music because it feeds the rest of my day, right? And then, so emotion management, emotion, attention, productivity go hand in hand. We are emotion-driven beings. Our reactions, like if you receive news that upsets you, your frontal lobe starts shutting down and you can't make decisions and you can't be as productive. And so you need to attend to that and regulate before you can be productive and moving forward. So folks that can compartmentalize, fantastic, but that box is still being filled. And then you're going to have to attend to it at some point. So learning how to be proactive in this emotion management and really feeling the feeling through and then going, okay, that stunk. I didn't land that proposal, right? What did I learn from it? How can I move on? But I can still regulate through that. So part of that, I use a lot of tapping, breath work. This morning I went and I did a cold plunge. These are all things that you can do to regulate your nervous system. And actually, some people look at me and they go, Stina, breathing, like, especially when you're in like a really corporate space. I'm like, yes, box breathing. Like, the Marines use it. It's not that hokey. It actually allows you to reset your nervous system the fastest. Breath work, like box breathing, or if you were to do like tapping or the nostril breathing, all of that is really, really great. And there's a lot of science behind that. The other piece is co-regulating with each other, community. So if somebody is dysregulated because of something that's going on and they can't move forward, if they have a partner or someone in their nervous system that can help them regulate through that and think it more logically, feel it out, our nervous systems benefit from that. Flexibility, it's not yoga. It's not, can you do the splits? It's how flexible can your thinking be? So can you adjust to a plan? Can you adjust when there's something that comes up unexpectedly? A meeting that pops up right away, or someone responds in a way that you're not expecting? How do you pivot? Because the success of your business also relies on that. And you need to be able to do that. So when unexpected changes happen, I always love whenever a new one comes up, I'm like, okay, here's another if then plan that I want to make. If this happens, then I do this. If this happens, I do that. So that when you're in the moment, you know exactly what your next steps are. Initiative. Initiative is just starting. Most of us that have a great idea, we love to get started. And then what happens? But some of us also have so much fear of like, I don't have it all together that I can't get started. And I think one of the best lessons is you just got to start something and then you can piece it together. So what's that first step to get you going? Because if your brain doesn't have any dopamine outlet of any movement, you really struggle to maintain the motivation to keep going. So if you have a big goal, breaking it down into, sub goals so that something that's attainable today or that's attainable in a week, because then you can get that dopamine boost. And dopamine is what allows, it feels good, serotonin feels good, but dopamine helps you focus and keep going forward. So I like co-working on things. Like if you ever have something you avoid, find a partner and co-work on it. Even if you're just sitting next to each other, someone that's going to be accountable with that. Metacognition is my favorite to stick in. Thinking about your thinking, dissecting it, way too much, but but it is important to understand, how am I thinking? Why am I thinking this way? What basic human need does this feed for me to think this way? And what are those helpful and unhelpful thoughts that come in? And I think a lot of us that are starting something new, or we're learning a new way of doing something, like putting the business together. I think also as a woman, I've noticed this too, is like remembering that some of those thoughts, they aren't grounded in any truth. They aren't grounded in any data. Look at the data that you've given yourself. Self-observe. Trust that. Organization. So it's not just your space, it's your time, it's your mind, it's putting your protocols together. Make sure that you have, SOPs. This is so that you can transfer it to somebody else. Persistence is that sticking with it after we've started something. So what do I need to keep that going? For persistence, we need to have those dopamine outlets, those little rewards along the way. Self-understanding is kind of what we already talked about. Be aware of what your own strengths and weaknesses are. That's why you would do something like this checklist for executive functioning skills. Time management. So my favorite thing to do with time management is to figure out what your time awareness ratio. So what that is, it's like our nervous system's process time. And I don't know if anybody has ever looked at this, but it's a really fun data self-observation thing to do, is that you say, creating this spreadsheet was going to take me 45 minutes. And then you actually do it and you record how long did it actually take me. Because whatever your body, your nervous system is clocking as 5 minutes may not be 5 minutes. And when you're planning, you're making predictions and you're giving yourself timelines, it's really important for you to know how much time passes when you think it's been that. Mine is a 1.25. So when I say to my partner, I'm going to be done in 5 minutes, that is so not the truth. So being able to plan for that. And then also, like, if any of you are in business where you're billing, like it's billable hours, or you're paying out that, this is really, this is money. This is money. Time is money. And like we talked about at the beginning, it's our most valuable asset. And so being able to time manage relies on your time awareness. So if anybody wants more of that, I can talk about that for hours and hours, and I have lots of tools. You can reach out later, but that's essential so that when you're prioritizing your planning, you're actually using data to inform your decisions, not I think it feels like, because that's really subjective. And it's different with every person. Working memory, so being able to hold that information long enough. Like I need to do 1, 2, 3 tasks. When somebody says to you, when I think about like in the household, hey, can you take out the trash and then go pick up the mail and walk the dog? How many of us actually like hold all 3 when it's transferred? So when you're going through steps, what can you use to help relieve the mental energy that is used to hold that information long enough to apply it? And where is your threshold? Love that. 70 hours instead of 24. Yeah, I'm in there with you. You know what? And sometimes my hours are just so much, maybe it is 70, but I'm processing where it's like, that's been an hour and it's been 20 minutes type of a thing. So what I would like you to do before we chat anymore, I'd like you to take the checklist and why don't you complete it for yourself and see, I want to know from everybody what ones are coming up where you're checking the most in your own experience.
In the meantime, Stina, just to give them a couple minutes, can you speak on how you got here?
In life, in business, in the
Well,
meeting.
that's the 70 hours. I'm talking about a 24-hour one. But just high points, because I think your decision to support a audience that is underserved in many different ways. I know you were a caseworker and stuff like that, but underserved in many different ways is very unique and very intentional, which can be challenging to say the least.
Very challenging, but very like, I don't think I could do without it. I've tried to think of and like be like, could I do something? No. Every time
I remember.
I'm like, nope. So I became the person that I didn't have. You know,
Mhm.
my work is fueled both by my own experience as well as, which is why I ended up interested in it. I actually didn't realize that I was neurodivergent until I was already working in the field and completing a master's in it.
Wow.
I was masking, I was using a lot of strategies, but what's interesting is that how self-awareness, unless somebody has given you a structure to be able to look at and go like, oh, you don't know. And so I actually started working in it where I was case managing, I was providing direct instruction, I was working with youth and young adults a lot, and then I was training educators and professionals on how to work with folks that have cognitive differences or actually a range of, I have multiple licensures when it comes to different disabilities. But what was really interesting is that I got so frustrated by why are we waiting till we're in crisis to intervene, to do anything? Like, why are we not, we know the pattern that we typically see and what it's going to result in. And now we're waiting till we're in the ER to do any kind of intervention. And that's a lot of our systems are set up that way, unfortunately. And so I started doing work outside of the systems and then started working with some private clients. And I remember there was one conversation I was working with, I think he was still an adolescent at the time. And then I was working with dad and mom, and they were like going through the guardian training. And the dad said to me, Stina, like you have, and he was an entrepreneur, owned his own business. He said, you have worked so well with us. I've learned so much from you. Can you come and do this with my team? So I started working with teams then, because really executive functioning skills, they're the glue of
Mhm.
anything. You can be an amazing mathematician, engineer. You can be the smartest person, have the best credentials, have all the degrees. And if you don't have executive functioning skills and you can't communicate, it doesn't matter. Nobody can receive it. You,
Right.
it won't come to fruition. So I ended up really honing in on at that point in neurodiversity because I started recognizing through my master's research and then also in practice and working in the fields that the cognitive abilities that we develop influence everything in our life. And going and using therapy is very essential. And I work a lot in collaboration with therapists as well. But we talk about it, we're processing it. We need to be able to be taught explicitly. How do I manage my time? How do I communicate? How do I task manage? What, in a very structured way. And so I took my background, my training as an educator, and then my training within, mental health and the cognitive systems and disabilities. And I said, you know what, these can go together. We just have to create a structure and a language around it and then start educating. And then from there, I just started seeking out ways to have the conversation more
Mhm.
and to really transfer the knowledge because when I was going through, there wasn't somebody that like me that said, hey, do you think maybe there's some way to think about this differently? It was very much like this is how you do it, right? Nobody talked about executive functioning skills in school. Did anybody talk about that with you all? Did anybody train you? Like, how do you, they said, oh, use a planner. What the heck does that mean? If I write it down, that makes it happen? Like, it doesn't.
Right.
We need partnership. We need modeling. We need someone to co-do it with us,
Right.
co-regulate, co-process, co-complete. And so the like, let me show you how to do it, we'll do it, and then you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Paige, she put in her response in the chat.
None of them.
Brush my space soon. Spring cleaning. Spring cleaning is real.
Spring cleaning is real. What
I'm
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 curious,
also
Paige, so, like with your um when you do clean your space, what do you have a protocol? Do you have like something that you follow when you do that? Is there a routine?
There it is. Sorry about that. I got on like a different page and couldn't see my mute button. No, I don't really have like a routine. I just know I can see with my eyes what needs to be clean because it's very hard not to see. And I just go for it. I know what needs to be done.
So you just jump right in and swim in it.
Yeah.
So one of the
Well,
things that if it's an actual space, because I'm one that gets really overwhelmed where it's like it just builds up and then it's like, oh, now it's so big. Now this is a project. It's going to take over my whole Saturday. I only have Saturday. Like, leave me alone. I need to have my rejuvenation. So one thing, it was the strategy I came across, I don't know, a couple, and they called it clean slate. And basically you pull everything out and you make 3 piles. It's so simple. It really is. But it's one of those things that I was like, I know it up here. And when I started doing it myself, because anything I always bring with when I put into trainings, I always do it myself because I go, if I won't do it, nobody's going to do it. And it's really interesting how hard that is. Like, what is it that I'm going to keep? What is it I'm going to give away or trash? What is it that I need to reorganize? But I think the thing that was really helpful with it is it showed me where I needed to focus.
Yeah.
So the things that I was going to reorganize, at least I could visually make it less chaotic so that I could focus there and address the avoidance. Because that's what happens when we get overwhelmed. We're just like, put a big sheet over it. Close the door. Shove it in the closet. I know all of them. Yeah. I know all of them. But and then also celebrating, like putting it on, like I did that first step.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I was gonna say I'm also a big, like my space dictates how I feel.
Yeah.
So I may not be, and some people come in like, oh my God, you're so clean. I'm like, I learned the difference. There's tidy and there's clean. Maybe I haven't dusted, but everything's where it's supposed to be. So we're working on the next level. But there's definitely a difference in the two, but it also reflects my mood, how I pursue things, how I feel about things. And same thing the other way. If I'm already feeling like overwhelmed and I come home and I didn't do all the things, it's not a great, we're pushing stuff to the corner, we're hiding things at that point.
Well, isn't it really unfortunate how we even take that in as like a character deficit? Like, I didn't do that. I mean, I've heard that from myself. I've heard that from others. It's like, I busted my butt all week, but I didn't get the apartment clean.
Right. Yep.
Now that's the thing that I'm like, oh, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. It's a huge component to, I guess, our quote unquote well-being. But the reality is if we look at the majority, I think we can all say that we're pretty productive and we're pretty like driven and that's creates interconnectedness, but how much value we place on those sort of tasks
Yeah.
and responsibility we place. But it's one thing that has been helping me is saying to myself, like, it takes a couple seconds. Like you are resisting seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just put the earrings back in the holder. Don't just leave them on the table. Put them where they're supposed to be. You bought this organizer to make your life so much easier. You're not organizing it. So creating better habits. And when I feel myself being resistant, I'm like, okay, couple seconds, done. You're free. Like you can go back to doing what you want to do.
Yeah. And it's also training ourselves and our brain to recognize what is discomfort, what's pain, what's an ouch, what's agony. Like, I think a lot of us haven't ever really defined that.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to continue to redefine it because I think that also changes our environment.
Yep. As we evolve too.
Yeah.
That it's interesting that you mentioned pain. So my sister and I, we have a saying. It's an acronym. We call it PFPT, which stands for Preventing Future Pain Together.
Yes.
Preventing future pain together. So a lot of times it is tied to household cleanliness, but it's tied to a lot of other things too. But like to stay on the idea of like cleaning up your space and stuff. So my sister and I, we do currently live with our parents because now that I'm remote, I'm trying to decide where I want to move, etc. But coexisting, with your family when you're an adult, we want how we define pain is, having a parent be unhappy that there, is mess or something. Not that we're messy people, it's not like we're the adult children who are like lazy, sitting around in our underwear kind of. No, it's not that kind of thing. But we say, oh, PFPT, even though we both work so much, my sister and my parents, they're older and they have a lot of health issues. So it's up to the two of us to kind of manage the household, like keeping things clean. So, to go off Sam's point of, trying to find seconds or minutes, I will try to do that if I'm not having a full like cleaning spree, where try to do like one thing per day, whether it's like the dishes or something else. And then, if there's a pile of dishes, I say to my sister, I say, oh, PFPT. She's like, oh yeah, PFPT. You do that. So that's how we manage it. But it's interesting how you say about, oh, like what's pain to you. And although cleaning isn't always a priority, like Sam was saying, your environment, if it's causing you to not feel good because you're like, oh my gosh, there's stuff everywhere, that's a form of pain. So that's so interesting that you bring that up.
Yeah, and it is like remembering that there's a spectrum. So like when I think about task management. So when we have big tasks, there should be a big reward system. So making your list, I call them reinforcers. I actually take folks through in a reinforcer assessment. And a lot of times the reinforcers come even from our childhood, from our family of origin. And so what rewards do you get? Is it from an authority, someone telling you, giving you praise or attention? Is it peer? Is it tangible? Is it an experience? Like, where do you get your pleasure? And then recognizing that it's a spectrum. So if you have a large pleasure response from XYZ activity or item, or from somebody, hearing something from that specific person, attach that to a larger task right after, so that your brain gets that dopamine and reinforcement of like, I'm going to keep doing this tough stuff. I'm going to keep completing things like this. And then once you have the dopamine, it also helps you focus more and keep moving to the next step. And then so when you have that, you're aligning your tasks, the things that maybe are the discomfort level, with the appropriate matched reward system as well. So you're using a lot of metacognition. You're outsmarting, and you're using that metacognition, that self-management, to move yourself forward.
Really quickly, Janae had a question. After you complete this questionnaire, how do you determine your strengths on page 13?
So the strengths, the areas that you are like you've fine-tuned, they're going to have the least amount of checks in there. And I'm always really hesitant to go strengths and weakness, because I go, those are the areas that you have been able to really hone in on and develop. And the other ones are areas of potential growth, areas of support. So I really try to always redirect and reframe that, because I think a lot of times we do say that. I just feel like, weakness means that it's so in counter with what I have in my thought process. Like, my favorite word is yet. I haven't, completed the laundry yet. I, didn't get I didn't get that level of a client yet, because it leaves that door open for progress. And it says, there's other ways and steps that I can move towards it, rather than writing it off altogether, which is really, so my company is called Keymaker, because of this poem I read that talks about folks that come to a closed door. And it talks about the first people go up to it and they try it and they're like, oh, well, the key, we don't, it doesn't work, so we'll walk away. And it has another folks that are like, well, we can't find the key, so I guess we walk away. And it talks about a third kind of group of folks that are more rare, that come up and they go, well, we see what's needed. We make the key to fit it, and then we open it up. And so sometimes that's what you have to do, is you have to make that key for yourself, because it's not already there.
On the assessment, like I think mine are like batched. Every time I do an assessment, they're always batched. It's hilarious to me. Um, and so I have like, maybe I'm an extremist, but perhaps. So I have like 4 through 8, like this section of like one. And then like the 9 through 10 is like threes. And then the top one is all twos. And I was like, you're an extremist. It's cute. Um, so yeah, those are
Yeah,
mine.
it makes, I mean, it makes a lot of sense that most of us would have something in all areas
Mhm.
that would apply. You want to look where they're really, there's maybe three or more. Those are the areas I would focus in on. And then just looking for supports. To be honest, when I take this, because I am neurodivergent, they're all on fire.
Yeah.
And
I-
and it's not like it's something that, oh, I just do some work and it goes away. It is a self-management and a self-care constantly.
This is very interesting to me because I have a partner with bonus daughters. I tell people all the time that I have when I got married I had something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue because he came with all these beautiful girls that I'm obsessed with. And he so I used to work for the Center for Autism and Related Disabilities at the University of Miami. So
Okay.
when I met him, and he told me he was neurodivergent. I was like, no, you're not. I think you're stressed. And I think it might be expressed that way. I was like, no, you're not. Like I was always challenging the diagnosis that he was giving, but he was given ADHD and type 2 bipolar. And I
Hmm.
was like, I just think you're really stressed. But then when I started to meet his daughters, I was like, huh.
Hmm.
Okay, maybe so. And I think like he has a high threshold for being responsible because he's a parent and a partner that he doesn't really allow himself to go too far off of whatever handle because he wants to be able to be a parent. So he has like a very strong internal drive there. So I love this primarily because I can do this with my girls and how they engage with each other and how you parent them and how you support your partner and then also get support yourself. It's my house is so interesting. You would love it.
I would,
You
I believe, like, I was like, you better follow up with you know that,
I
like,
love my house.
and the thing is also remember, I mean, people can be functioning really well in all of these areas. It doesn't matter, it doesn't mean that it's not going on inside and there's not mental
Exactly.
energy going into that. And it's
Mhm.
when it's your partner or your children or your colleague, it is so important for you to be aware of that and know.
I think about that all the time. Like he always looks like life is great. And not because he's putting on, but because he employs instead of explodes.
Mhm.
And this is probably a lot of personal stuff, but his
So
my
here.
father-in-law just passed away. And so when
Sorry
you
to hear
look
that.
at him, thank you, when you look at him navigate grief, everyone's like asking me, oh, how's he doing? How's he doing? I'm like, he's doing really good. Like, I'm so impressed. But then, like, yesterday, he was like, it was so challenging. It was so hard, babe. And I'm like, but I was like, I watched you all day and you looked fine.
Yeah.
You know, but then I had to remember he's
Mhm.
very internal because he always wants to make sure that he's this parent who's together for the girls. So he'll let the girls have emotional breakdowns, but he won't let himself do it, especially in the presence of our kids. And so didn't I didn't think his grief was over, but like I haven't seen him cry
Mhm.
in weeks. So I was like, oh, he's getting better. But
Right.
yesterday was probably the hardest day I've had since he passed. And I was like,
Yeah.
in my head, I was like, what? But like I just let him have that.
We
Like
were together, right?
that's it. But I was like, wow, you lay next to this man every day and didn't even realize that yesterday was the hardest. I watched you boo-hoo, but yesterday was the hardest. But yeah, it's so interesting how they express, because I think that we have a belief system or a narrative for these images of what it's supposed to look like. So when it's anything contrary to that, you're like, oh, that's not true. That's not your diagnosis. You're not grieving. You're not this. They are. They just expressed it indigenous to them.
Right. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. And we also become masters of masking. I mean,
Mhm.
let's be real, the rest of the world is not always, well, no,
Okay.
it's not always, not often accepting and kind. It's actually will be like that, that's kind of quirky. That's
Mm-hmm.
strange. I mean, having how many times we've heard that? Whereas it, and even if it's there's not a neurodivergent diagnosis, we all apply that. Like we all
Mhm.
know that there are certain expectations of behaviors that it takes energy for us to exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we
Um,
have to
Your Highness
separate.
had a question really quickly about tips for initiative.
and so, yes, so I'm curious of what types of tasks is difficult to initiate. That informs my answer. But in
Mm,
general, it's you really want to attach it to a basic human need. What is this going to fulfill for me? Because those are the deepest motivators. So is it going to give me shelter? Is it going to give me food? Is it going
mm,
to give me connection, safety, any of that? So if you can connect it in some way, that's going to be the strongest way to fuel.
mhm.
Um, but I also, of course, there's more tips than that. If I knew more of what type of task it is that's really hard to initiate. Because if it's something that doesn't give you much of a pleasure response, well, we need to find something to partner with that.
Yeah.
Because then there's nothing in your system. It's nothing about like having the drive or being able to, have the grit to do it. It's your nervous system saying, like, I don't get anything out of this. Why would I do that?
Mm,
Yeah, I feel like being on the spot, I can't really think of anything right now, but I feel like it's kind of just like an in general thing. It's usually the more mundane things. Like when it's something related directly to what I wanted to do, I don't have that issue. But say, for example, like somebody asked me to do something, or it's just like one of the more boring things that falls under like the big goal that I have. It's like I'm just sitting there like poking myself with a stick, like, do it, please, please do it. And my body's just like, eh, maybe when you have like 3 seconds left to get it done.
Right? Because then the adrenaline kicks in, which mimics dopamine to help you focus to get it done, right? I have tasks like that too that are like they're so boring. They're so not what I like to do. And I often use that co-working or accountability partnership where I will ask somebody specifically, can you meet with me, for 15 minutes, 30 minutes at this time just to hold me accountable? Because if I haven't done it by then I want someone to say, you didn't do this, we're doing it now. Um, and it's totally okay to delegate too. Like if there's something that is boring to you or not in your wheelhouse and it takes a lot of energy out of you, find somebody that's their jam and they love it and partner with them. And when we're in this space of being a founder and entrepreneur, maybe you can't hire somebody, but you can trade. I have traded so many times with folks where they'll go, well, you have something that would benefit me and they have something that benefit. That was actually it was interesting. I had this amazing, she is a really high level executive trainer. She goes in and she works with culture and systems. And she came to me originally because she found out that her son had ADHD. And then she's like, oh, I do too. And she wanted my services. But then she was like, I don't know if I can do this, if I can balance it out with my budget because she's a small business owner too. And I said, well, I looked you up. I can benefit from yours. You can benefit from mine. Let's trade. So look for that. So if there's things that you like, gosh, this takes me so long. I keep avoiding. I can't do this. I can't fill out this form. I can't, um, do this proposal. There are people out there that you can delegate that to, and that's completely okay. And then all your energy can go into the actual building and the things that are going to move that needle forward.
I really, really like that. I know we're over time, so if you ladies have any quick questions, Um, uh, and I'll share your contact information, of course, with everyone as well too. Well, you guys, will you email the group so everybody has her email? So I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
and I'll put up too if you all like I'll share my if you wanna
Yay.
hobble. And that gives you did it show up? Yeah. If you scan that or you go to I think it's the Bitly one. Or no, that's the LinkedIn. But it'll even give you a scheduling link.
Okay.
And I can share, yeah, I emailed that scheduling link to I think is in my signature. I will give you a secret. The best way is to just jump on my calendar. That or even the number that's in my signature if you text it. Email, I get back to probably within a few days to a week, but if you want immediate access, you can take it. Just take it.
Thank you, ladies, for your time. Thank you, Stina, for making
Thank you.
this happen. I really, 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 really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
It's
Oh, my favorite thing.